Hi guys, so we're back. I have Sophie's dad here, my husband.
Hi, Kenny.
So I decided to bring him on to the video so that we can both explain. So we want to start by just explaining how we got to the diagnosis. So basically, Sophie was a normal kid, right?
Yes, she was.
All her tests were perfect. They were all normal. Her weight, there was no complications during the pregnancy, during the birth. So we went home. We started going to her doctor's office, for her checkup normally. She was meeting all her milestones. She was doing things that she was supposed to, like she would sit down, like she would kind of sit up a little bit. She would make eye contact, but she wasn't really responding to name. At first, we thought it's normal. She's a baby. She's not going to really, make. She would probably respond to maybe like a noise or something, but not really to name. When we went to see the pediatrician for the 3rd month checkup, we told her we were noticing certain things, but she said, "Oh no, it's okay. It's normal. It's not. Every kid is different." Because I was making the comparison to our other 2 kids, right? So, for example, the sitting up. We would sit her down, and she would sit normally.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, it was more like a rag doll. Like it wasn't like a straight posture, right?
Right. It was just like she just didn't have the strength to keep her upper body up.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, okay, we're just gonna wait. By obviously 3.5 months, you would think that she would react to name, and we would say, "Sophie, Sophie." It wasn't even like
she would barely look at you or pay attention to you or look in your direction or look in the direction of the sound that you were calling her name.
something's odd. We never thought. I never thought. Did you think it was anything like something that was more advanced, like?
Yeah, no, I mean, at the time, I really didn't think anything of it. I just thought that she was just, I guess you'd say, just a little behind maybe where her brother and her sister were at the time. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I thought like, okay, maybe she's just taking a little bit longer, and maybe she's just being a little lazy. She doesn't want to do tummy time anymore. So then we had the 4-month checkup. The doctor came in the room, and the first thing she said was, "Sophie, Sophie." And Sophie she did not even look at her.
Look her way.
So it was kind of hard to, to see that she didn't really respond to the doctor calling her. But it was also, I'm glad that the doctor was able to see that, what I had been saying, that she just wasn't responding to the name. And not to say that the doctor didn't believe what we were saying. It was more like I wanted her to see it. So her first thing was, okay, let's get her ears checked, right? So we said, okay, what about like like she's just kind of weak or whatever. And so she said, okay, let's get her started on physical therapy. It doesn't hurt. We'll just kind of help her, give her a little push and help her with her muscles if there's something there. So we said, okay, perfect. We go to the audiologist, we get the results, and there's perfect hearing. There's no issues with the hearing.
No issues. No.
So we go back to the doctor. He has no problem with the hearing. Maybe she's not seeing. Let's check her vision. We get the vision consultation and all normal findings. At this point, we're a little bit more worried because this is not just like on the same day. These are weeks going by, and we're not seeing any improvement.
Right.
We were taking her to physical therapy, but we were seeing her struggle when they would put her, like they wanted her to be on her knees and play with the toy that was in front of her, and she just couldn't. We go back to the doctor for the 6-month checkup. At this point, the doctor said, okay, let's see a neurologist.
Correct.
And see what happens. We made an appointment with the neurologist. The neurologist, of course, the first thing was, let's get an MRI of the brain, and that was scary for us. So I want to stop and just say how we were feeling, like just talk a little bit about how we felt during this time, because now, we were about to get some definitive answers. Obviously, an MRI of the brain test, that's more invasive. That could give you really big answers, but we didn't know. How did you feel like when she said, okay, the neurologist?
Yeah, I mean, all I know is that obviously when you're talking about going to see a neurologist, it's obviously, it's just it's an uneasy feeling because you know that now they're trying to find out if there's obviously something wrong with the cognitive functioning of the brain. I've always been a little calmer, and can handle stress a little better. I know that you were definitely not
I was a mess.
feeling as well.
I and I don't think I explained or I mentioned that I was in nursing school during my pregnancy. Once I had Sophie, I thought that things were gonna get, okay, more relaxed. I could study more, I could have more study time, and I didn't have to worry so much about, okay, I need to take care of myself. I need to do this. I need to do that. Yes, of course, we have to take care of Sophie now, but just coming from having two other kids, that it was just a whole different,
It was a different
it was a
process.
different process. When all this started happening, I was just like, oh my God, I was doing clinicals, and while I was in the hospital, I was just thinking like, okay, what could it be? Like, I'm trying to connect my classes with maybe, something that Sophie, any of the signs that Sophie was showing. It just, it just didn't make any sense. I had so many questions, and no matter how many times I asked myself the same question and I try to put sense together, it just wasn't taking me to where to the answer that I wanted to hear, which was, don't worry, it's just something that she's going through a stage and it's going to get better, or here's an antibiotic and she'll get better. It just wasn't the case. Seeing the neurologist, or not having the thought of seeing the neurologist and having this MRI was really, really scary. But of course, Kenny, he's like my rock. I feel like he's the one that calms me down every time that I feel stressed. I'm like, hey, I don't feel good. I feel this, and what do you think? Like, sometimes I ask him questions and I want him to give me the answers that I want. And even though he doesn't, obviously he doesn't have the answer to the problem that we were having, he didn't have it, but it's just the way he comforted me, and he said, babe, look, let's just wait. Why are we stressing? We don't know anything. We just have to wait it out and see. Of course, Sophie is not our only child. So even though we were super, super stressed out, scared, and we didn't know what was going to happen, we still have to worry about our other two kids,
Right.
Emma and Nico. They didn't really ask questions. Sometimes she would just say like, "Oh, but I want to play with Sophie," and why can Sophie do this, or things like that, And like, how do you explain something that you don't even know, what the answer to that is? So we would just say like, "Oh no, she's still little. Let's give her some time. She'll play with you later, when she gets a little bit older." And then Nico was more like, he's just always been quiet and like into his schoolwork. So he wasn't really aware what was happening. We try to not show it, I guess, at home.
Right, because I mean, you don't want to make them feel the way we were feeling, right? So we would just try to act like everything was still okay, but we know that even they had, well, they more of Emma than Nicholas, um, had desire to play with her and to see her develop, and obviously that wasn't happening, and we couldn't explain it, and obviously they didn't know what was going on, so a little hard.
Yeah. Looking back now at like what we were going through back then, and like all the questions we had, and not knowing what was going to happen or where to go, what to do. We were just kind of following what the doctor was saying, and her directions. I think now I can say that that was basically it was just, we were building a roadmap, like to get to where we needed to get to. We just had no idea that, that that's what we were doing, and it was going to be so much more than just seeing the neurologist, really. We just wanted to, start sharing little by little. We don't want to overwhelm everybody with so much information at once. We are happy that you guys are seeing our videos and listening to our little story. We hope that you guys, stay tuned and just keep up with us. It's a little hard, because Kenny works, I work. Even though we both work from home, we still have to try to manage our time with the kids. Nicholas is bigger now, and Emma is bigger now too. So is Sophie, and we have different activities, but we're trying to make these videos so that we can share a story and help all the parents out there that were in the same situation as us, that did not know who to contact, what to do, or what to look out for when they're little, because a lot of times this gets confused with, oh, it's just this, or no, maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just like she's a little behind, but she'll get there. Just give it more time. In actuality, we should be really looking for these little signs that maybe doctors. I feel like doctors don't want to tell you so much all the time, because then you kind of,
You may react adversely and in a way that probably is not helpful,
yeah.
not necessary to the situation. And at the end of the day, that's why, um, everything that we're talking about has to do with awareness. And doctors, scientists, they're still discovering a lot of things, day to day, month to month. And so it's just important to share as many stories as you can so that everybody's aware of what we're going through and what many others are going through. We're not the only ones, but it's just good to share this information and again, just help whoever we can, reach as many people as we can.
Yeah, and it's a teamwork, really. We're a great team. So we'll see you guys next time. We'll be sharing more stories and what happened after we saw the neurologist. Bye, guys.
Bye.